Body horror is one of the most pervasive movie genres ever. From classics like The Fly and Hellraiser to modern-day movies like Crimes of the Future and The Substance. Body horror is one of the most decorated horror genres, and directors like David Cronenberg will always be remembered, thanks to their contributions to the genre. I personally love body horror. There's just something so creepy about your body changing and being unable to do anything about it. I also love the Transformers, and it just so happens that the Transformers universe has dipped its toes into body horror more than once, and has taken the concept to some wild places, thanks to the characters being robots. In today's video, we're going to talk about some Transformers body horror from different parts of the franchise. Please drop a like and subscribe for this spooky video. And I will say I'm going to talk about a bunch of body horror stories in this video, but there's no way I can cover them all. So if I missed any big ones, please let me know in the comments. While the G1 cartoon doesn't really feature any body horror, except for maybe that one time when the Constructicons turned Optimus Prime into an alligator, the comic books on the other hand are almost an origin point for Transformers body horror, with the earliest example being issue 5, when Shockwave defeats the Autobots and hangs their bodies upside down like they're in a meat locker, and leaves Optimus Prime just as a head. Issue 5 also has the most raw cover of any comic book, featuring Shockwave next to writing on the wall that reads out, "The Transformers are all dead." Ooh, spooky. But by far the most horrific event takes place in Transformers issue 70, where it's revealed that Megatron and Ratchet were fused together after being trapped in a different dimension. Optimus Prime and the Autobots literally have to debate whether or not to save Ratchet or destroy Megatron, and in the end, Optimus Prime can't bring himself to blast the disgusting hybrid away. The Ratchet side of the hybrid even grabs Optimus's blaster and points it at his own head, obviously begging for death. This is a comic book for kids? Beast Wars has its own unique brand of body horror, thanks to the characters being techno-organic and transforming into animals. For example, Cheetor's blaster is usually called his gut gun. Gross. But the most horrific Beast Wars character has to be Transmutate, a bot that was injured in its stasis pod and horribly malformed and way too powerful at the same time. Transmutate is asymmetrical with a weak voice and a limping weird walk, with the face right from the uncanny valley. Though it has a horrific appearance, Transmutate has a caring nature and is tricked by Rampage into helping the Predacons, though ultimately Transmutate refuses to hurt Silverbolt and joins the Maximals. Transmutate is caught in the middle of two rockets as it tries to stop Rampage and Silverbolt from fighting, and it gets destroyed in the process. As horrific as it is, Transmutate's story is actually pretty sad and really well told by the show. In Transformers Animated, Elita 1 is an Autobot cadet and is friends with Optimus and Sentinel. When they are exploring a planet, they fall into a cave system with giant spiders. Like most Autobots in Animated, Elita 1 has a special ability. In her case, it's the power to copy other bots' special abilities. For example, Elita is able to copy Sentinel and use his shield to stop a spider. Eventually they make an escape, but Elita falls into an exploding spaceship and is thought to be offline by Sentinel and Optimus. What actually occurred was Elita 1 was copying the powers of the spider that was attacking her, leading her to become half organic in a terrible twist of fate. Left behind by her friends and now a half-organic freak of a Transformer, she joined the Decepticons and continued to look for a cure for her condition, eventually accepting it and even transforming Wasp into Waspinator, creating her own Predacons. In the IDW comic universe, there's a concept called nemosurgery, a special type of neurosurgery where one bot can enter another's mind and edit their memories or even change their entire personality. Sunder is a nemosurgeon who went insane and became a serial killer known as the Tetrahex Ripper. His powers grew so strong that he did not even need to physically touch other bots to enter their memories. He was eventually arrested with his brother, but they were able to escape with an Autobot therapist named Froid as their hostage. Sunder's brother dies in the escape, and Froid makes a deal with Sunder to help him cope and bring him victims. Froid is able to convince Sunder that he needs to see his victims before killing them, and he takes Sunder's eyes. From there, Froid was able to lock Sunder up and use his mind-reading abilities to become the most successful space therapist ever. Eventually, Froid makes contact with the crew of the Lost Light looking for more victims. Of course, at some point, Sunder breaks free and gets his eyes back. Sunder uses his powers to force several bots, Froid included, to transform themselves inside out, which looks as terrible as it sounds. The funny thing about Transformers is even if you get mind controlled and transform yourself into a ball, Ratchet can somehow still fix you and put you back together. The IDW universe actually has the most body horror concepts in it by a large margin. Other ideas include the anti-personal mines, which are bombs built out of the heads of Autobots, and the only way to disarm them is by taking the Autobot offline. But the mines are programmed to explode if they become panicked or upset, so bomb diffusers like skids had to make sure they were calm when taking them offline. It's this type of insane psychological warfare that can seemingly only work in a Transformers story. Even though Skybound is the new kid on the block when it comes to Transformers comics, they're already coming out the gate strong with some messed up stuff. If you're not caught up, there will be some minor spoilers. The first thing that comes to mind is Starscream and Soundwave ripping Skywarp apart and using his body to fix Teletran 1, leaving him half alive. Speaking of half alive, in issue 1 of the comic, Jetfire is seemingly killed by Starscream, but several issues later it's revealed that Ratchet was able to save part of his spark, leaving him trapped in vehicle mode, seemingly immobile and blind but alive. On the Triple Takeover podcast, the writer of the comic, Daniel Warren Johnson, said he just needed the Autobots to have a vehicle to get around and wanted to use Jetfire's lifeless body. But the execs at Hasbro didn't like that idea and told him that Jetfire needed to be alive, and this was the compromise. The thought of being locked outside of your body and only being able to speak and hear is terrifying, and honestly more existential horror than body horror, but sue me. Finally, it's revealed that Shockwave had been torturing Ultra Magnus and had literally stripped the armor from his body, leaving his robot skeleton exposed but keeping him alive. Though Ultra Magnus was able to be repaired, the torture had clearly scarred his mind and left him a shadow of his former self. And that's all the spooky stories I have to tell you today. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and if you want more of me, check out my second channel, Smart Jake, where I cover Transformers news, or check out my podcast, Bat Kibble. We actually just did a Halloween special about the spookiest Transformers. See ya!